Ubisoft is struggling right now. They've released multiple failures this year, like Skull and Bones, X Defiant, Star Wars Outlaws, and while they did push Assassin's Creed Shadows off until 2025, I don't think that's going to turn out to be any better for them. And now the Assassin's Creed executive producers revealing AAA games need to sell 10 million copies to break even. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, shocker, everyone in the industry is overspending, whether it is on development costs, hiring more people than they actually need on projects, and games take years to actually create. And now the executive producer for the Assassin's Creed franchise is revealing that AAA games need to sell around 10 million copies in order to break even. If they had business-minded individuals making decisions, if they actually had analysts looking at what gamers want and what the gamers are spending on titles, maybe they'd be able to make money again, but instead, they're more focused on chasing ESG dollars and implementing DEI policies instead of making genuinely good entertainment, which has forced gamers into abandoning ship. People are no longer blindly supporting Ubisofts, people are no longer blindly supporting EA's or BioWare's. People are taking their time to research products before showing up and pre-ordering them or purchasing them. And that doesn't sit well with these companies because it means that they're less likely to make money, less likely to obtain that sale that they need per gamer. It says, though, during an interview, he discussed how video game development costs are increasing year over year. Yes, I am so sick and tired of hearing this, though, because while dev costs are increasing, the amount of money companies are able to make is also increasing, so it really should end up evening out, but it doesn't for these people. We are in a complex and tough economical situation right now, at least in the games industry. We've all seen our costs rising, our profits shrinking. Okay, that's cap. In a way, there's a lot of very, very intense competition. This is true, and that's why you need to strive to be better. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot recently blamed gamers for Star Wars Outlaws failing. He didn't say we needed to reflect on the content we were creating. He didn't say our team really missed the mark and we completely understand why people were not in love with this game like our team was. No, instead he blames us for having high expectations, but of course that's going to happen. When there are games being released every day, every week, every month, and every year, and in a lot of cases significantly higher quality than the slop Ubisoft is pumping out, of course we're going to have high expectations. When you want to sell us a $70 to $130 video game, and that's once every 2 or 3 months, you need to do better. We heard this guy, Kote, just say recently as well that Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dumpster fire. He literally said the developers, quote, think it's the worst thing they've ever seen, and he admitted that they hired a team of primarily juniors, people who've never worked on a game of this size and scope, people who've never really worked in the industry, which is mind-blowing. You are talking about Assassin's Creed, a franchise that can make you so much money, yet you're hiring people that don't have experience. I'm totally for people getting an opportunity to work in an industry or on a big project when they haven't before, but you still need to have kind of anchor individuals that are part of these teams, people who understand the business, understand the direction the game needs to go in. And it just seems that Ubisoft is filled with incompetent idiots. It says, though, the cost of building games has probably increased tenfold since the first Assassin's Creed, and the one that's coming out this year, both cost, complexity, amount of people has probably risen by a factor of 10. Well, technically it's not this year yet, but almost. When you look at who succeeds, at least in the AAA space, so what I'm going to say applies to like mostly premium games, more traditional kind of AAA games, you have 10 games in any given year that will sell about 10 million copies. Then he explained the reason I'm quoting the 10 million copies kind of mark is from what I've seen and how I've seen costs, our costs, and costs of competitors and everybody. Everything leaks in our industry, so you have privileged information on where the competition is going. But mostly, I estimate that 10 million copies, give or take 2 million, is mostly what you need to break even, but you have only 10 games that breach that every single year. Now, I of course think that this is ridiculous because they shouldn't need to sell that many copies. They are spending too much and taking too long. It's like people ask me all of the time if I think we're going to see a change in the video game industry. And I do think we will, just not anytime soon. Look at something like Star Wars Eclipse, for example. They announced that back in 2021, and it's supposed to come out in 2028. But last year we heard that they fired like half the team for that game. So will it come out in 2028? No, probably like 2030. Maybe they won't release it at all, but the point stands that development cycles are far too long. So I do think that after this stream of games comes out, we will end up seeing a massive shift. Some companies are able to adapt quicker, like indie teams. I think that they can kind of at the drop of a hat change their game direction as to what the market is calling for. But with these mega games like Star Wars Eclipse, that's not the case. So it's not going to be until those games release that we see a shift in these major companies and what they're doing. In that case, it's Quantic Dreams. I want the industry to change, and I do think it can change. But when you have a game that's in development for a decade, like Dragon Age the Veilguard, it's going to take a lot of time, and these companies are spending so much money, it's crazy. They should not be spending $400 or $500 million on a video game. I get that some projects are going to be that much, like Grand Theft Auto 6 and Elder Scrolls 6, right? $1 billion, $2 billion, because they are the biggest projects within the industry. But games should not need to sell 10 million copies to make money. You should be able to sell a few million copies and be majorly successful. But that's just not the case anymore. And you know who they have to blame? Only themselves. If they were pumping out high quality products, they were not worried about how they were going to poorly monetize things with loot boxes and battle passes, and they weren't worried about following social trends like chasing ESG dollars and implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. They might have had a chance to actually make money on a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows, but they sacrificed a genuinely good experience to chase the ESG dollars, and well, it's not turning out good for them, and that means that because they have 4 failures in a row, they need this next game to sell even more copies. It's like 2024 for them. X-Defiant was supposed to be the COD killer, it wasn't. It's already dead. Skull and Bones was a quadruple A nightmare. It didn't sell any copies. Star Wars Outlaws underperformed. It just came out on Steam, and it can't even top 1,500 players. We have months to go until Assassin's Creed Shadows launches, and sure, I think it will sell to a certain extent because Assassin's Creed is such a well-known name, but I don't think it's going to sell 10 million copies, that's for sure. At the end of the day, I don't feel bad for Cote here. I don't feel bad for Yves Guillemot. I don't feel bad for anybody who works at Ubisoft. If these individuals started listening to gamers and were focused on giving us high-quality experiences, things would be going significantly better for them, but they don't care about what we have to say, and that means I don't care that they need me to open up my wallet and swipe my credit card on the pile of slop they're pumping out. So I'll be keeping my eye on Assassin's Creed Shadows as we are very quickly approaching the launch. I think that it might even get delayed again, but now we're hearing this executive producer reveal that AAA games need to sell 10 million copies to break even, but they really only have themselves to blame for the current climate. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.